Well, guys, you know what we do on this channel? We make fun of... This is how I think of this. I just make fun of weird YouTube videos. And what that happens to be lately is, well, over the past, I don't know, year or whatever, is just right-wing lunatics. So that's what we're going to be looking at, okay? If you don't like it, well, send an email to your mom, I guess. Or send it to yourself. Write it to yourself, and then just send it to your own email, okay? Also, can we get this out of the way really quick? Yes, to answer your many, many emails. I have been playing the Cyberpunk game, and, you know, it's amazing, but I will say the one thing that I wish they would change is the one thing that I beg of them, whatever that company's name. What is the company that makes that thing named? They're called like DVD Red or something. But this Keanu Reeves character, why can't he just be Keanu Reeves? Like the whole time you play that game and it's Keanu, you're just thinking, oh, that's Keanu Reeves. They try to make him like a rock star with a bionic arm, and you're just like, yeah, that's this guy. That's this goofy guy who's in action movies that I know about. It would have been really interesting, not to go on too long of a tangent here, but what if they just made him Keanu Reeves and he froze himself with all his WIC money, froze himself, wakes up in 2077, and he's just sort of confused and lost in this cyberpunk world. I think that would have been a far more interesting thing, because he does not seem like any other person besides Keanu Reeves. Sorry. So anyway, I don't know why I keep getting suggested. I mean, of course, because they run nonstop ads, but YouTube is still trying to get me to pay attention to Benhamine Pepino. So here we go. Not my fault. This is YouTube, okay?
And that agenda is being...
Okay, sorry. This one's called... Here's a shocking... He's really venturing out with his content. He's doing some really new stuff that right-wing people have never done. Hollywood sneers at non-leftist. Man, this is a brand new concept that we haven't been hearing for the last 60 years. Here we go.
And that agenda is being propagandized by people in Hollywood. Again, it's elitists in the media and in Hollywood and in government who believe that...
He's going to say this a couple times throughout this video, and this is a new... This seems like generally a new thing, using the word elitist this much. That guy, Trucker Carlson, does it too. They say elitist. Imagine that. Tucker Carlson, a guy who's an heir, like literally an heir to a fortune, who's been on network TV since... I mean, for at least at least 20 years, more than 20 years. He's been a famous person for more than 20 years. He wore a bow tie at one point. Multi-millionaire, works for a channel that exists just to push the policies of millionaires, and he's always talking about elitists, how he's taking on the elitists. And now this guy, who went to Harvard, grew up in LA, and gets paid by oil billionaires to say things, is going to fight those elitists. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing that you're able to, say this kind of stuff and your body doesn't reject it, Like, I feel like if I was lying to that degree, where it's like, it's totally the opposite, I wouldn't be able to say the words. Like, it would be like some like food that I'm allergic to or something. My body would just reject it. It would be like getting a liver transplant or something. My body would just be like, nope, can't do it. Sorry.
They ought to rule your lives and decide what is morally okay and what is morally not.
By the way, this is a guy who, from the videos that I've seen, thinks that he knows better than women who don't want to give birth. This is like a heavily let's make any kind of a Planned Parenthood illegal guy too. But oh no, it's Hollywood who's telling you what you can and can't do. I mean, this is going to end up being like a 2-hour video because these channels, it's just like, hey, what's actually going on? Oh, okay. I'll just say the exact opposite of that on my channel.
And this is how you end up with the specter of Pete Davidson on SNL on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's get Pete Davidson. Let's not get, the U.S. government that's still, despite, hundreds of economists, economics teachers saying, hey, we need another stimulus or we're not going to have an economy anymore, guys. Let's get this done, guys. Still can't do that because we got an inbred turtle in there. That old, what is with that guy, too? That Mitch McConnell guy? What is that? Is that a human? Is that a human or a literal ghoul? But yeah, so still people getting kicked out of their homes, can't pay rent, economy's gonna totally fall apart for the average person. But yeah, let's get Pete Davidson though. Yeah, he's the problem. Let's get him.
Telling people over the weekend that if you're
Ariana Grande's ex-boyfriend, let's get him.
Protesting lockdown, you look like a baby. I'm noticing that Pete Davidson was sitting on the set of.
Let's go back because this is I got to hear this wisdom. Hold on, let's go back. Let's get the full context of this beautiful commentary.
You're protesting lockdown. You look like a baby. I'm noticing that Pete Davidson was sitting on the set of Saturday Night Live like 1.5 feet.
It's weird that he says the phrase "look like a baby" when he literally looks like a baby. That's a baby's face. Why does he look like that? Okay, anyway.
From another human being while he was saying this.
I saw the protest. People were outside the bar shouting about freedom, taunting the cops.
Maybe this is something me and Pepino can agree on. Is yeah, I don't really get Pete Davidson. Don't get it. It's maybe for they're trying to pull a younger audience into SNL. I don't know. Not for me. There's a lot of things I don't get. I'm getting the old guy thing of like, oh, I'll just listen and pay attention to things that I liked when I was 15. I'm getting into that territory. Pete Davidson, not for me. If you like him, great. Good for you. I'm really happy for you, but I'm not quite sure that I get the attraction. Maybe because he dated Ariana Grande. I guess that's kind of cool, but
chanting that they should arrest the governor, but it's that.
Shouldn't she be, by the way, just another aside, shouldn't she be Ariana Pepino? Just a thought.
An island, so I
just a really well thought out joke.
Assumed that it was just like a typical last call.
And are you against these protests?
I mean, kind of, but I'm also just happy I'm no longer the first thing people think of when they say, what's the worst thing about Staten Island?
I take it that you found these protests frustrating.
Yeah, man, they're making us look like babies. You know it's bad when even people in Boston are like, drink at home, you queers.
Okay.
That's actually, when I first saw that the first time, I laughed at that. Making fun of Boston people, it's not bad. But we'll watch what Pepino says.
First of all, I'm still not sure why people find Pete Davidson humorous, but
I'm not. How can he be funny? I mean, clearly I'm way funnier than him. Here's a joke. Logic and reason and logic. There's the joke. That is end of joke.
Beyond that, Pete Davidson is sitting at his workplace 1.5 feet from another person wearing no mask. Right? 1.5 feet from another person wearing no mask. But he gets to lecture you about what you ought to do. And
well, they're famous people. I would imagine that they have testing. I mean, on SNL.
Okay, so it only applies to the little people. It only applies to little people like you. You own a business. You want to spend time with your family. The rules must be applied to you. And you are...
Now, this guy, everything that he says weirdly aligns with the billionaires who fund this stuff. Weird coincidence. Like, climate change is fake. Paying taxes is bad. Stuff that oil billionaires kind of... Weirdly, the people who pay him, their views align perfectly. Sort of odd. Sort of weird coincidence. This next part, I could totally see how this would trick somebody who's not paying close enough attention. Or maybe like a Meemaw. A lot of Meemaws and Peepaws watch this channel. And a lot of 12-year-olds, so maybe that's why. But here we go. If you don't know better, you might be tricked by this because it's... I don't know. I could see how this is convincing. Here
There's one thing that the left cannot stand, and that is someone calling out their bullcrap. Here was Matthew McConaughey calling out their bullcrap and getting a bunch of crap for it.
there is a lot on that illiberal left that absolutely condescend, patronize, and are arrogant towards that other 50%. When you say, hey, we want to get out the vote, we want people to be able to go vote. We're going to do a campaign to let people vote. I'm like, 100%. Yes, everyone. Is there anyone who would say no to that? And then they can't help themselves. At the very end of it, they go, so we don't let those criminal get backing off. And you're going, whoa. You're like, no, don't say the last part. You lost 50% of your audience.
Okay, McConaughey got a bunch of crap from people in Hollywood for this. How dare he? Because how dare he point out that there's an entire other side to the political aisle? This is the kind of scorn that Hollywood has for you. This is the kind of scorn the media have for you and your politicians. Right? This group of elitists who all traffic in the same circles.
This group of elitists, these elitists, you know, like people who went to Harvard. Elitists. They look down on you. They look down on you so much that they'll do YouTube channels where they know they're lying to you. I'm not sure, like that, if that clip was supposed to be a dunk where McConaughey is just kind of saying, and I like Matthew McConaughey, where he's just kind of saying the type of vague political things that a guy who doesn't really care that much about that stuff says. But even from that, I mean, that clip was like the most meaningless. Like, what are we supposed to take from that? He was saying, oh, hey, don't say that we need to vote out these people, you know, these Republicans. Don't say that. I mean, he could be saying because we want to trick them. I mean, you know, it's like the most meaningless nothing quote. And he's like, look, McConaughey's calling out something. Yeah, but it is so funny and so odd that people believe this. The guys like this saying stuff about elitists when they're literally like the most elitist of elitists. Like there is as deep down that hole you can possibly go. I mean, of course, like, you know, you could say, well, like, oh, Joe Biden's an elite, and Cameron Diaz Harris is, you know, they're all elitist. Of course. Yeah, of course. But this guy literally lies to people to get money from ultra wealthy people who want to push a specific agenda. I mean, it's like the worst version of an elitist. I mean, okay, one more thing. Like, I don't get how anyone, like somebody living in Kentucky or something, somebody living in Ohio, somebody living in, you know, the middle of nowhere, look at this guy and say, yeah, that's a working man. That he's for the working men. Like, look at this. with his set, his set that clearly somebody else paid for. Come on, man. Really? You gonna fall for this? Yeah, this guy, look. You can tell just by looking at this guy that his hands are super rough from manual labor. Went to Harvard, right? Grew up in LA. This is a tough working man right here, standing up for the common working man laborer out there in Missouri or whatever. How do you fall for that? That is truly amazing. Hi, my name's Benhamine Pepino, and I know it's funny. Pete Davidson is not funny. Here's the joke. End of joke.
These people believe they ought to rule you from above. And if you buck that system in any way, regardless of the industry that you are in, then you will be called out and you'll be ostracized. You'll be socially ostracized. I'm going to get to more of that in just 1 second.
Truly amazing. Like this thing really should be studied. This guy should be studied. Another one. He's like, they want to own you. Hollywood wants to own you. Hollywood wants to own you. This is a guy he defends the sort of beliefs of libertarians. This is like libertarian capitalist kind of stuff. It's people who literally want to own as much as possible. It's like the Jeff Bezoses of the world. I mean, one good example of this is that guy Dave Rubin. As far as owned and being owned by someone else and all this, this is a guy who just straight up, I mean, he's just straight up grifting, saying what a certain small minority of wealthy people want him to say. You know, I mean, you can tell looking at that guy, he doesn't believe that stuff. I mean, these really are like the most owned people ever. I mean, they cannot go off script with this stuff. I mean, look, we're literally looking at a trope that's been around since the, 50s?
Because, you know, it does feel in the United States, and it has felt for quite a while. I'm firmly convinced that this is what the Trump backlash has been about. I'm firmly convinced that it feels, if you are on one side of the political aisle, which is to say anywhere to the right of Karl Marx at this point, but certainly anywhere to the right of Hillary Clinton, that you are under constant assault. You're under constant assault from authoritarian government officials, from a media that will lie to you and about you. You're under assault from Hollywood that wishes to promulgate messages that run directly counter to your values. You're under assault from
Hollywood is basically assaulting you with Marxist propaganda. Like when I go to watch, you know, the most Hollywood movies, like the Avengers, the Adventurers, or whatever that thing is called, the Adventurers. It's like, you know, when the Hulk and Tony Stark are, you know, making out or whatever they do in those movies, those two. That's sick. That's sick, and they're really pushing their values on me. You know what I mean? Pixar constantly pushing Marxist values. I guess what the only thing that would pass this guy's test if it was like a movie about how fracking is cool. Like a bunch of animated characters, they work for a fracking company and they're just happy the whole time. They're like, this is perfect. This is perfect. They, you know, these animated characters are pushing for more deregulation. You know, the characters are like, hey, our air is not dirty enough, actually. We need more deregulation.
social media that censors your viewpoints, and from journalists who will be under assault from social media that censors your viewpoints.
Imagine being that aggrieved. Imagine being that much of a crybaby. It's an assault. And again, these are the guys who they love private business. It's an assault if a private company doesn't let you post, racist boomer memes. That's an assault. That's an assault. That's like an attack on my person if I'm not allowed to do that. And I will cry and I will choke my dipes with doo-doo if I'm not allowed to do that. Tough guys. These are the tough guys too. By the way, this is the side of the tough guys. Hey, we're tough and we have all our guns and we're posting the Punisher pictures all the time. But we'll cry and poop our dipes if we're not allowed to post. We need to post. The other thing is the reason that these guys get censored mostly is because they're too stupid. They're too dumb to not break terms of services. Like, they let these guys get away with murder. I mean, this guy comes on this channel and he does like a North Korean propaganda show every day. And they're like, yep, go ahead. In fact, get 2.47 million subscribers. Be on the front page of every app. Like, I got to open my podcast app every day and he's at the top of iTunes. He's at the top of every podcast feed. Not only him, but his minions. Like, what's that guy's name? No, I want to say Charlie Knowles, but I think that's wrong. And by the way, is that Knowles guy, is he Beyonce's related to Beyonce somehow? I think he actually is. It's like 5 different people that this guy's connected to are at the top of every podcast feed. And he's like, we're censored. What are you talking about? What a kook.
And from journalists who will go digging through all of your old posts to find something that they can use as a club to cudgel you. You're under assault.
They both do this. I mean, both quote unquote sides, both idiotic sides, I would say. People who are smart don't really care about this stuff. In fact, there's like those Kyle Kulinski tweets and people are like, I think most people are like, yeah, this guy's, he used to write goofy tweets and I don't think he meant anything racist by it. And they're just kind of funny and people laugh at him. I think that's the general vibe. There's little people on both sides who are trying to, take people down on social media, and it's generally stupid. But they both, it's a dumb people thing. It's like a dumb people thing to do. Well, there you go. And this is the tough guy war that these guys are fighting.
Corporations and from your bosses who might fire you if you're under assault, from corporations and from your bosses who might fire you if a bad old tweet is resurfaced.
So yeah, it's all about political correctness. It's not that you'll get fired because there's like literally no worker protection in this country. No kind of social safety net where if you lose your job, you won't die and starve to death. That's not the problem. Is all this people who say that I can't come on YouTube and say that, in this guy's case, Palestinians are subhuman or whatever. Look at this creep. Whatever creepy baby stuff this guy wants to fill his diapers with.
It feels like that. It feels like the walls are closing in. And that is not a coincidence. There is a plan from elitists to make the walls close in on you. Because they...
These elitists, like people who went to Harvard, people who push the views of billionaires on YouTube and run nonstop ads on YouTube so him and his sister can be famous and can be the most elite, followed people on YouTube. But you got to watch out for those elitists, though. Yeah, them. Who are them? Like a guy who marched at a Black Lives Matter protest. That's the elitist, or some actor that I don't like, who said that poor people are not all bad. Like they said that on some Snapchat or something. Those are the elitists. They're being elitist, not people who went to Harvard who work for oil billionaires.
They must achieve your silence. They must achieve not just your silence, but your assent.
Oh my God, this is getting me so riled up that I want to fight these people. Who exactly are you going to go fight? I don't know, but Benny Pepino is getting me so mad. These elitists are holding me down. Who are they? Who exactly are they? Who are you going to go fight? I don't know. I'm planning to maybe go to the there's like a FedEx Kinko's, copy place. I think I saw one there, and I'm going to get them. I'm going to do some violence on them because Benjamin Pepino is getting me so worked up with something that is a little vague, to be honest.
I want you to be complicit in the destruction of your own values. That is the goal here. And that is why it feels monolithic. That's why it feels like a tsunami.
Just complicit in the destruction of your own values? What are you talking about, Pepino?
They must achieve not just your silence, but your assent. They want you to be complicit in the destruction of your own values. That is
like what? What value are we destroying here? I can't post a meme where it's a picture of AOC, with a swastika on her face. I can't post that as a conservative. So then my values are being stripped from me.
That is the goal here. And that is why it feels monolithic. That's why it feels like a tsunami right now, a cultural tsunami. And Trump was a middle finger to that. That middle finger is not going to go away post-election.
Yeah, Trump. I love that this is still. How is this still? The guy lost the election, and they're still pretending that this guy, that this idiot who was born into like extreme wealth, who every policy he did. It's so funny hearing these guys talk about the economy too, because literally you look at every economic marker. I feel like I've talked about this on this channel, but you look at every economic marker and it's all trends from Obama, like the stock market and unemployment and all that stuff. It's literally just a line that keeps, it's like Obama, Trump, and then it keeps going and they're like, oh, look how good he did. It's like, all right. Not that any of that stuff even really is like a sufficient marker of what the concept of an economy should be. But then there's actually one where there's a big spike when Trump is in office, which is wages. And you're like, wow, Trump must have done something really great for wages. He's really doing good for the economy, this guy. He's something new, like what this guy's saying. Trump's a middle finger to these people who don't fight for normal people, is what he's implying, but not actually saying. Wages went up. So wages went up. You know why? Because the minimum wage went up. which is an absolutely anti-Republican policy. It's like the one thing that they hate the most. It's the one thing that they pee their pants over the most. And that was like the one good economic marker. But yeah, he went in there and he really shook things up. Not sure how exactly. I guess because people who, kind of weirdo, pudgy guys in the middle of the country were like, I'm sick of John Oliver. I'm sick of John Oliver telling me what to do. Hey, have you ever met John Oliver? What do you mean? How is he telling you what to do? I don't know. I think he just is somehow, and I'm upset. I'm generally upset. I'm just generally upset, and I need a place to channel it. And Pepino gives me a place, which is just vague ideas of somebody in Hollywood. I think is maybe Kristen Stewart or something is pissing me off somehow, that elitist.
Election, regardless of what happens, regardless of how this election ends up being adjudicated, regardless of what the Electoral College does. Okay, that push.
It's over, buddy. It's over. You got to move on. I know your followers don't want you to move on, maybe, or maybe you've trained them into this stupid thing. By the way, again, Biden gonna be a horrible president. Already shaping up to be horrible, but you got to move on, buddy. You got to move on. It's over. You gonna keep doing this? You gonna keep talking about this stuff? Got to get some new content. It's another thing. They're almost like gaming YouTubers, where you could tell those people on Twitch after a while they're playing, they're playing Doom or whatever, and they run out of stuff to say after the first 4 minutes of playing the game. It's starting to get that vibe. Like these people are just squeezing content.
To take over all of the institutions of power in our society, from government to Hollywood to academia to the education system, to Hollywood to academia to the education system, to all of the main outlets of media, to social media.
This guy is clearly like traumatized, or so there's something wrong with this dude. Just normal people don't talk or have body language like this. Anyway.
That push is going to continue unabated from the left because they're engaged in renormalization of American values.
Oh my
they're
God.
engaged in institutional capture so they can cram down on you a particular agenda and then ostracize you if you dare to speak up against it. I hope you enjoyed that.
You know what I don't like the normalization of is this guy. I watched a video of his the other day where he was pushing an ad for a gambling company.
But first, let me talk about why betting can be kind of a fun thing. So right around election time, there were these presidential debates. I bet on them. I used my friends over at MyBookie. They had a bunch of prop bets on the election. It was a lot of fun. Actually, I've been betting on sports as well. Putting a little money on the line can sometimes spice things up.
By the way, this video has the word elites in the title too. Yeah, get those elites. Mr. Harvard Republican, anti-minimum wage, pro-corporate. Yeah, get those elites.
The elites.
Yeah, you're really standing up for the working man, Mr. Harvard Republican here.
I used my friends over at MyBookie. They had a bunch of prop bets on the election. It was a lot of fun. Actually, I've been betting on sports as well.
Online sports gambling, and that is against my values. That's not traditional values. He's pushing his gambling agenda on me. He's like, hey, why don't you go, I don't know what gambling talk is, but hey, why don't you put some juice on the Mets? Why don't you put some juice on the Carolina Hurricanes? I don't know if juice means anything in gambling talk, but yeah, he's really pushing for the destruction of the family unit with all this gambling talk. Yeah, here's something. I lost my job due to these shutdowns. Guess I'm just a big baby who needs to get over myself. No, I mean, look, you going back to work is going to be a disaster no matter what. This is sort of, I'm going to just state the obvious here, is that we have these idiots who should have a long time ago paid people to stay home. I mean, that's like the only way you can do. How about you take a little bit of that money that you gave to, the cruise ship industry and all this crap, and give it to people so that they can stay home and not get evicted and not spread a a disease that's already killed like 250,000 people around. Why not try that? This is part of the Pepino trick, is that, hey, you should be fighting to get back to work at your crappy job to get sick, instead of what we could do, which is do the right thing, try to flatten this thing, this disease, and pay people to stay home. That's who he represents. People who want you to get that butt back to work, even if it makes you and everybody else you work around sick. Get back to work, because we need our numbers up. We need that stock market up. So there you go, just to check in with another insufferable internet nerd who nobody likes, and by now even making fun of him seems like giving this guy too much credence, paying too much attention to this absolute puppet dork. And there you go. Also, hey guys, and just a reminder, you can leave me a voicemail just like this person did. Let's take a listen.
Hey, RM Brown. This is Corporal Geckel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I just wanted to let you know that I think you're doing fucking God's work out there. I watch your videos every fucking day. I hope you fucking blow up.
You and me both.
I've been laughing my ass off at your fucking Tim Pool videos. But
Hell yeah.
You're really fucking putting shit out there, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sending that. That's a very nice and encouraging email. What? Email? No, it's not an email. Voice. Thank you for sending that voice email. If you guys want to send a voicemail, do it. Do it. And, you could say things like, shut up. Or you could say nice things like this cool guy did. Or you could say, hey, shut up. I disagree with you. You look stupid. Your face is dumb. You could say all kind of slurs to me. That's how we do it, okay? Or you could just be nice and say nice things. But thank you so much for sending this voicemail.